Right, we'll look at unwrapping the UVs for our character's head now. We've done the body. First of all, I'm just going to hide the hat away. There's several ways of doing this. You can just use Control H and Shift H to hide and unhide objects. I'm going to use the display layers. So if we go back to our classic view, and if we have a look at this, down the bottom here, we've got display layers. And so if I create a layer I'll select the hat and I'll click on this icon here, and that creates a new layer and adds the hat to it. And you can double click on this and name it and do stuff with it, but the V is the visibility. So you can just turn the visibility on and off like that. You can also set it in different modes. You've got template mode, reference mode, which means you can see it and it will display textures, but you cannot select it. So if I try and pick it now, it's unselectable. And then you've got just normal mode, that's blank. P is for animation play blast, so whether it appears in any animation play blast, playback, sorry. So we're just going to turn it off in that in the visibility mode, and we go back to UV editing. Here we are. Press the F key just to zoom in a bit. So we'll have a look at the head now. Bit more tricky. Obviously, the more complex objects are, the more tricky they are. The best way to do this is probably to do a projection onto the front and then projection onto the back. That might be the easiest way to do it. So we'll start off by making some cut lines into it. We don't really need to do a new projection on it because look, it's separate here. But we do need to cut it out because if we try to unfold this, it will do all kinds of horrible things, I imagine. So let's do an unfold on it. Yeah, that's just rubbish. So undo that. It kind of needs the cuts in it to help it figure out how to unfold it. So we'll put some cuts in it. So I'm going to pick along this edge here and the back of the ear, up to the top of the head, round the back again. And this should help it a little bit. We'll separate these off. Okay, let me just check I've got those all selected because any joins will cause problems. So we'll cut that. And what we should be able to do is move that aside. Now the way to do this, when you've got stuff on top of each other, if you've cut it out so it is a separate kind of UV, what they call a UV shell, you'll be able to separate it. So if we right click and go UV shell, then just click on, we can move the two things aside. I'm not sure which one I've got. I've actually got the back of the head because I can tell by that it's blue. But it's a nice way of separating things. So right clicking UV shell will help you separate things that are not joined to the other one. So we'll then look at unfolding this. At the moment the ears will do a little bit of weirdness around here because obviously these are joined, but it might be right. It will be a bit weird at the top as well. We might need to put some cuts along here. We'll give it a go. The best way is to try these things out. So we'll just give it a bit of space. We'll move it over here. We'll try and unfold on it. It's okay. We could probably get a more symmetrical fold using this. So we could fold it that way, then vertically, and then do it's still gone a bit wonky. It's okay. I mean, if you were applying like a very sort of patterned kind of textures to it, then you would see this distortion. But with skin tones and very organic kind of textures and that, it probably wouldn't be too bad. But we can show you the difference of if we put the cuts in. So I'll go into edge mode again. I'll put a cut in here, and I'll put some cuts around the ears to help them unfold. So we'll just do cut there, and we'll try unfolding this again. So I select the UVs, and when you do an unfold, any unselected UVs will be pinned. I'll show you. So if I select all these UVs apart from the ones at the edge of the ear, you can see everything moves apart from those two. They're pinned. You notice that. Likewise, if I do it this way around, top of the head, those ones will not unfold like so. So if I select all of them, it will unfold all of them. Yeah, it's a bit better, isn't it? It's sort of it's a bit more of a universal shape. We'll try the UV one that way and then that way. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, it gives us something we can draw on. I mean, we can move these individual UVs about, you know, like so, just using the transform tool. But look, we can draw a face on that. We can draw ear textures if we wanted to. It depends on how much detail we're going to add, but it does make sense. And it will display. It's displaying these faces kind of evenly and so on. This one, let's flip this round so it's kind of around the right way. It's not overly important, but we will flip it so it's in the transform. And down here, flip it in the U like so, and I'll just close that down again so We get a bit more room. And we'll try unfolding this. We'll just do a quick unfold. You can see it just opens it out a little bit. Again, make sure it's a similar size. It's kind of a similar size. I might just scale it down a little bit. And that's the head unfolded. Okay, next we'll do the arms. I just do one at a time. Obviously, if you were doing something very complicated, it would be worth doing the UVs and then duplicating the object, which makes it a lot easier. So with the arm, we want to kind of unwrap this, put a seam underneath it, hide it away. With seams, it's almost best to do them. If your character's wearing clothing, it's best to sort of hide them away somewhere. Right, sorry, my phone rang. So yeah, putting the seams where they're kind of hidden away a bit more, where there would be like stitching on clothing and stuff like that is always a good way of hiding them away. So I'm just going to pick this edge here, and sometimes what you can do is hold shift down and double click, and it will select the edges in between the two selections, so that can be quite good. And we'll cut that there, so we should get a thick line appears because we've got, remember, the UV edges appearing as thicker lines. And just at the end of the hand, we do want a couple in here just to help this sort of unfold. So I'm just going to do it like this. I'm just going to pick those. So that should unfold. It's got a seam there, so it'll unfold around there. So we'll cut those again using just this cut tool here, which make sure we've got the right arm. It's this one here. We can see it's got the thick line there. So we're going to UV mode. We'll select that. We'll look at just doing a basic unfold first. Yeah, pretty good. But we should better use the unfold along the V like that. And we'll try a little unfold along the U. And that's really neat. That's really good. And we can do the same with it. Like I said, you could, delete this arm, duplicate it across, merge it together, and stuff like that. But it's good practice at this stage just to do it again. So we pick that edge from there to there, double click again, cut it, and then just those ones there. And it does take a little bit of practice to get used to unfolding UVs. On low poly items like this, you can treat it, like I've said before, almost like sort of origami, how you cut it to unfold it. But it can take a little while to get used to and sort of figure out strategies of how to get these things working. So we've kind of unfolded everything now. The next stage is to arrange it on this layout. Now what I'll do now is get rid of the David Hockney picture, because that was just there to help us see the projection maps. We can just use the grid if we wanted to, and that will show up how things are working. So I'm going to delete this. The best way to get rid of this is to bring up the hypershade. Under Windows and rendering editors, we've got something called the hypershade, which is the materials editor. Always takes a little bit of a while to boot up the first time. And in here, it's got all the materials in my scene. It's got sort of libraries and stuff like that. It's got a lot of stuff you don't actually need. A lot of stuff that's repeated in the attribute editor, like this stuff here, will appear in the attribute editor. So you can remove stuff out of here, but I'll leave it in its default for now. If I have a look here, we've got a textures tab here. Look, there's the Hockney painting. I can just delete that. And if I go back to my picture here, look, it's just got rid of it. Okay, I'm going to move these into here because this is where my hand-drawn texture will appear, and it's kind of getting this to make use of the space as best as possible. If things are close together, use UV shell tool, and you can move them in like this. It's nice and easy, and you can have things on top of each other. If the arm was sharing the same texture, you could lay them on top of each other. So like, I could flip this. So where's that again? In the transform scale, flip that like so, and I could lay that kind of on top of that, and it would just share the same texture. Okay, like so. And then the face as well. So we want to try and use this texture as best as possible. So let's move the head in, and I think the scale is about right. It all looks about right, but what we can do, let's try and fit it all in together. I'm just going to rotate this round, just about like that, and then have the head like so. And then let's just scale it up a bit so it fits that square, and it doesn't leave too many gaps, and we can move it around a bit more to make best use of that texture space like that. Then I'll pick UV shell mode again. It's going to move these, but I can put them on top of each other again. Put that on there. And that's something that's changed in 2018. You didn't used to be able to overlap UV shells. When you're in UV shell mode, it wouldn't let you overlap UVs, but they've changed that. That's good. give the head a little bit more space. Let's just scale that one up a little bit and see if we can fit it there. And this one, likewise, we scale up a little bit, and that should squeeze in there. So we haven't got too many sort of blank spaces on our UV layout. And then all we want to do now is we want to export this shape so we can take it into, you know, our paint package, our Photoshop or whatever, and export that. So I'm going to go into just UV mode, pick all the UVs. Now this is where I think this is a new icon. Is that UV snapshot? Yeah, this is an icon for UV snapshot. It usually lives in edit. Oh, it used to be in the edit thing right down the bottom, something called UV snapshot in previous versions of mine. But this little camera icon, you click on that, it will bring up this option window, and this will export this UV layout template. So give it a file that's usable, JPEG's fine. Give it a name, so we'll call it out UV puppet, because it's our puppet character, and have a look at where it's saving it. Mine's doing it on my Google Drive into my 2017. It's not 2017, but it's a folder that I called that, images out UV puppet, and make it nice and large. I would make it like a big old texture, so I think 4K is 4096. If I tab that, it updates the other one. So this is 4K texture, and then just go apply and close. And it says here saved file, and if we go and have a look in our browser, we should be able to find that. So 2017 images, and there it is, out UV puppet. If I double click on that, you can see it's a bit faded, but we can now load that into Photoshop and start painting with it.